Welcome to EU Privacy for All, Session 25 on GDPR, Article 50, International Cooperation. In the frame of trialogue negotiations, Article 45 was finally renumbered Article 50 on international cooperation for the protection of personal data. It lays down that in relation to third countries and international organizations, the Commission and supervisory authorities shall take appropriate steps to develop international cooperation mechanisms to facilitate the effective enforcement of legislation for the protection of personal data. They also have to provide international mutual assistance in the enforcement of legislation for the protection of personal data, including through notification, complaint referral, investigative assistance, and information exchange. They should engage relevant stakeholders in discussion and activities aimed at furthering international cooperation in the enforcement of legislation regarding data protection. And finally, promote the exchange and documentation of personal data protection legislation and practice, including on jurisdictional conflicts with third countries. Recital 101 stresses that flows of personal data to and from countries outside the Union and international organizations are necessary for the expansion of international trade and international cooperation. And in such a frame, new challenges are set by data protection worldwide. The level of protection of natural persons should not be undermined, including in cases of onward transfers of personal data. In Recital 105, the Commission is presented as having to take into account obligations arising from the third countries or international organizations' participation in multilateral or regional systems, in particular in relation to the protection of personal data. And a specific reference is made to third countries' accession to the Council of Europe Convention of 28 January 1981 for the protection of individuals with regard to the automatic processing of personal data. The Commission should consult the European Data Protection Board when assessing the level of protection in third countries. Recital 116 also reminds us that when personal data moves across borders outside the Union, it may put at increased risks the ability of natural persons to exercise data protection rights. At the same time, supervisory authorities may find that they are not able to pursue complaints or conduct investigations relating to the activities outside their borders. So, hampering by insufficient preventative or remedial powers, those data subjects' rights should be defended. Therefore, there is a need to promote closer cooperation among data protection supervisory authorities to help them exchange information and carry out investigations with their international counterparts. And the Commission and DPAs should exchange information and cooperate in this frame. The Directive 95/46 did not frame as such international cooperation, but referred in Article 25(6) on adequate level of protection to the fact that domestic law or international commitments entered into by a third country might justify a positive assessment of the adequacy. What should accountable data controllers and processors get prepared for? First, they should get prepared for a new era of data protection in which enforcement will be implemented worldwide. More concretely, it means that EU Commission and supervisory authorities will be developing international cooperation mechanisms to facilitate the effective enforcement of data subject rights. They will be providing international mutual assistance in the enforcement of legislation through notably notification, complaint referral, investigative assistance, and information exchange. They will also be engaging discussion with relevant stakeholders and promote the exchange and documentation, including on jurisdictional conflicts with third countries. There will be a closer cooperation among data protection supervisory authorities to help them exchange information and carry out investigations with their international counterparts. So the question arising now is knowing what will be the set of new international cooperation mechanisms, and will the EU-US Privacy Shield be part of those? And finally, how will international investigations look like